And would I rightly understand your theory of change to be the solution to this problem and the misalignment between men and women today is first the development of the man?
Hmm. Hmm. Yes, that's it.
Okay. And let me ask you this. I'm always looking at things and thinking, everybody ain't going to make it.
Hmm.
Now, I think that we could have a higher percentage of honorable, upright, strong, wise men than we do today. We can have a higher percentage. In your view, what percentage of men would you say are in a proper state of manhood? And then the second piece is, what percentage do you think we can get to?
Proper state of manhood in this country um, has to break down culturally, right? Um, Within our community, um, very small percentage because the idea of what they think a man is, right? So it's a very small percentage, but I'm very optimistic about once the information continues to get out there that more will not be offended. I make people very offended, especially our people. Very offended. You do too. That's why I love you so much because we just offend everybody, especially our people. So somebody said, "Why would you like to offend somebody?" Because we like disturbing the slave in you. We like disturbing the slave in you, right? We don't want the slave in you to feel comfortable, right? So,
Mm.
um, so just a very small percentage of males within our communities have a concept of manhood, and you could see why all these single family households and guys just making babies, and that comes from what happened to us during slavery because you were never groomed to accommodate anything. You were just groomed to produce something. And so that is carried on through generations. You haven't developed that characteristic of manhood to accommodate, right? You just develop just to produce something. So that's unmanly. But you think it's manly just to be able to produce a child or to produce this, right? Manhood is anybody that has anything that they're doing great understands that great responsibility comes with greatness, right? Being able to accommodate great spaces. Marquett does it a lot. You see all the things that he does, and to many of you guys out there that be hating on Marquett, you feel a certain kind of way because you have not developed the space within you to be able to accommodate such a mass amount of things and moving. It seems impossible to you, right? But that's simply greatness that's attached to responsibility, accountability, and being able to have the space to accommodate. It takes growth to do that. You can't do that because all you're thinking about is having sex.
You mentioned children briefly, and I want to just dive into this and hop right back out and stay on the main line. But one thing I'm asking myself, because something I promote very strongly is family, family,
Mm.
family, family. I recently published the Black Code, and we talk about the need for population. What people don't realize is that Black people, our population has been under attack for centuries,
Mm.
whether it's through outright genocide, warfare, enslavement, colonization, biological warfare, the intentional infecting of HIV/AIDS in South Africans. It's been under attack to keep our population low, and it has largely worked. And oppositely, I promote that we grow the population. We need more soldiers. We need more reinforcements. That being said, looking at the rearing of the children, especially from age 0, which is to say the newborn, up to age 2, is this something that a woman can do by her, in your perspective, from a man's side? And we do want to bring the women in eventually, but from a man's side, is this something a single woman can do by herself, or what do you think are the supports that she needs, that she should have in place, and or the man should help put in place to help the rearing of that newborn child?
Well, as a rule, of course, you want to be able to have the input to make the child complete and that they're. Well, let me just say this before I say that. It seems like the typical thing to say, yes, you need your mother and your father, right? But what if you have a father that doesn't have any information? All he has is the indoctrination of the white man and what he has learned through this system, and he doesn't have the information, right? So just because he's there, it can add some amount of credibility to the child, but what he teaches the child is, another issue that you might have. So as a rule, of course, a child is going to do better, of course, and it's not nothing, that I'm saying that's so deep with a mother and a father, right? But the
Mhm.
other part of that is, what is your mother and your father teaching, right? Because listen, my mother and father was a P and a working woman, right?
Mm.
That wasn't what they always were, and it allowed me to transition in my life. That my father came from the P and went and became a published writer, got 4 out of 5 stars on the New York Times with his novel The Midman, right? Taught, got out of prison and went to Paramount to work and became a writer. And so that transition allowed me to know that I could also transition out of my life. So I'm just saying that if it just would have stopped with just the lifestyle, then I just would have only been Gorgeous Dre and not Andre Taylor that have accomplished all these things in life, right? So yes, if you make it real small, then yes, a child needs a mother and a father. But then
Mhm.
what kind of mother and father? We got a whole
Yeah,
bunch of
sure.
that. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Marquette.
And what I was really getting at is I was listening to a young lady speak who has a newborn. She's a stay-at-home mother, has a newborn, has a husband, and they're in the more traditional role of, he's the breadwinner and she is the primary caregiver of the newborn. And I'm not familiar with a lot of this stuff. And so apparently babies have to be fed every 2 hours.
Hmm.
And then I think eventually every 3 hours, which means that pretty much the mother has to wake up every couple hours for, I don't know, maybe the first couple months of the baby's life. And to uh, apparently, of course, this is taxing, messes up the woman's sleep schedule. And so I remember when I'm in Dubai, you see a lot of these folks in the Middle East. They'll have all these nannies and they'll have a wet nurse and all these other women to help make it easier on the mother. Now, me, I was kind of my first, I was like, well, damn, if your only job is being a mom, I mean, damn, why do you need help? That's your only job. That's number one. But also number two, I was asking myself, well, if it is fundamentally necessary for a woman with a newborn to need help, then that would suggest to me that either polygyny is necessary and appropriate as well, which is to say have multiple women to help her, or that the woman would have to have a significant family that has the availability time wise to be there and help her. And theoretically, if the woman had multiple sisters, the mother would not be as available. So it would again point to polygyny as a natural way to do this. I'm looking at the hiring of the nanny to be basically a broken capitalist way of executing on polygyny, wherein the man is taking care of this other woman because you pay her salary, but not romantically involved, and thereby probably also doesn't have the higher level of trust because this woman is essentially an employee. I'm gonna give you some time to ponder that.